is enough said.
Happy Wednesday, Heat Nation, hump day. Yo, boy Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Before we get started, you guys, just want to wish everybody a blessed, happy, and positive day. Hope you guys are living your best life, keeping a glass half full mind perspective. Now that we got that out the way, please join me as together we go on another Miami Heat Talk adventure. Now, we don't have another preseason game until Friday, so we got a few days to kill. So in this episode, you guys, I want to talk about something that I find a little bit interesting. I want to talk about the idea of the Miami Heat potentially trading for Memphis Grizzlies superstar, Ja Morant. And the reason why I'm doing this, you guys, is because Andy Bailey from the Bleacher Report recently has thrown out a trade idea that involves Ja Morant going to the Miami Heat. And for those of you that know, Bleacher Report is a very credible source. This is not something I'm making up. This is from a report that I read yesterday. So I wanted to talk about it here and to get your guys' opinion, because yesterday I posted a video talking about the possibility of the Miami Heat rebuilding, trading Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, and getting as much first-round draft capital as possible. And that would be a complete and full rebuild. But if we know anything about this Miami Heat front office, Pat Riley, Andy Ellsberg, and Mickey Arison want to compete and want to try to contend. This is not an organization that tanks. We know that. Even when we look like we're not going to contend, we still really try. Look at 2017 when the Heat were 11-30, and the second half of the year they went 30-11. You have one of the best coaches in the NBA, one of the best coaching staff. This team is always going to try to find a way to contend. And when you look at this roster on paper with a depleted Eastern Conference, and I've been saying this since the offseason, this Miami Heat can contend. But one thing I did mention in yesterday's episode, this Miami Heat team is one piece away of being a true contender. And that has been the stigma with this Miami Heat team for a very long time. Even in the Jimmy Butler era, we have a great team, a great roster, a contending team, but we're one piece away from being a championship caliber team. And that's something that the Miami Heat can solve with a potential trade for Ja Morant. Now, I understand the stigma of Ja Morant. He's a head case. The whole situation where he's doing Instagram lives with guns in his hands, doing gun signs on the court, getting fines. His father is a head case off the court. He can be a head case at times. But at the end of the day, you guys, you look at Ja Morant's numbers and it speaks for themselves. He's been in the NBA now for 6 seasons. He's 26 years old, so he does meet the age timeline of this youth movement group. And the one thing I will say about Ja Morant, the biggest problem with Ja Morant is injuries. He's never played a full 82-game season. The most games he's played was in his rookie season, the 2020 season, where he played 67 games. Wasn't even a full season because of COVID. But after that, dude never even cracked 65 games. So you know the injury history with Ja Morant. However, you also know that Ja Morant, when he's on the floor, is one of the best point guards in the NBA. Last season, he only played 50 games, but in 30 minutes a game, he averaged 23 points a game, 7.5 assists, shot 45% from the field, 31% from the three-point line, 82% from the free throw line. He also averaged 1.2 steals a game. When he's healthy and on the floor, he's one of the best contributors in the NBA. And I feel that a trade for Ja Morant to the Miami Heat can bring new life in this roster and can obviously help us contend for a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, Andy Bailey's trade idea, you guys, this is not something that I'm suggesting. This was something that Andy Bailey reported, and I think it does work for both sides. But I wanted to see if you guys thought that this was a little much. So Andy Bailey is suggesting that the Miami Heat would receive Ja Morant. And in return, the Memphis Grizzlies would get Terry Rozier's expiring contract, Jaime Jaquez's rookie scale contract. Now the issue that I have is it also includes Kasparis Yakachonis. That's a little tough, But then you also would include a 2030 first round draft pick and a 2032 top 5 protected first round draft pick, which means if the Miami Heat get a top 5 pick in 2032, it goes to Memphis. Now, it does seem like a little much, and I know Miami Heat fans love Kasparas Jonas, but at the end of the day, you're getting Ja Morant, who is an all-star caliber player. So I understand the deal, and I understand why it works for both sides. Now, the reason, I will say this, the reason why there's been trade speculations with Ja Morant since the offseason, because we've been hearing this since June, July, about the rumors of Ja Morant being traded. And the reason why is because of the trade of Desmond Bane. It's reported here by Andy Bailey. The Desmond Bane trade sparked speculation about a potential rebuild, which led to renewed talks about trading Morant to acquire assets. Some articles and analysts have questioned his long-term fit with the team and his durability. Now, before we move forward, I will say this. Memphis Grizzlies GM did recently come out and say that Ja Morant is not on the trading block. But as we know, things change in the NBA. And the trade deadline isn't until February. So if there's a situation where the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant's situation doesn't go good, there's a potential trade. You know, they got a new coach. They traded Desmond Bane. This was a team that was contending for a championship in 2023, and it didn't come to fruition. They drafted Zach Edey last year. They may be looking on a potential rebuild. Now, will this trade happen tomorrow or in a few weeks? Probably not. But if the Memphis Grizzlies go throughout the regular season and they're a mid-tier, lower-level tier team, look for them to potentially move Ja Morant. Now, I'm looking up Ja Morant's salary right now. I did not do that before the video started, but hey. As of this year, you guys, Ja Morant is making $36 million. So this trade, as far as the number goes, does make sense as far as the NBA's CBA. Now, Ja Morant does have 3 more years left in his contract. So like I said, it does fit and it does work. You would have Ja Morant until he's 29 years old. So I think it definitely works. And I've mentioned a lot that if you're going to give up future first round draft picks, you want to give them up for a player that will be on this roster. And the fact that Ja Morant is 26 years old, he does meet the age timeline of this youth movement roster. Now, the question is, you make this trade for Ja Morant, that makes this Miami Heat team better because you're not giving up Tyler Hero, you're not giving up Bam, you're not giving up Norman Powell, you're not giving up Andrew Wiggins, you're not giving up Kel'el Ware, you're not giving up Nikola Jovic. So it makes this team better. But how does this roster look? Because if you trade for Ja Morant, he is a point guard that does need the ball in his hands. And this would transition Tyler Hero to be more of a Klay Thompson like player, which I think would work perfectly for him. And then you can have Norman Powell be your 6-man off the bench. And if you have a 3-headed monster of Ja Morant, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell in your guard rotation, you also have Davion Mitchell as well, this can make your team so much better. Also, Norman Powell can play the small forward shooting guard position, so it definitely works. I think that a potential trade like this makes the Miami Heat team better. If you throw out a starting lineup of Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, Ja Morant, Tyler Hero, having Nikola Jovic, Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell as your lead guys coming off the bench, that is an 8-man rotation that is scary. Norman Powell can play multiple positions. Davion Mitchell can play the shooting guard, point guard positions. Nikola Jovic is a unicorn coming off the bench. And you're still going to have a lot of these other players like Simone Fontecchio, Palo Larson. You're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be able to contribute. And when the Eastern Conference with the best teams being Cleveland, New York, Detroit, Orlando, a Ja Morant-led Miami Heat team can definitely contend in the Eastern Conference. I think it works. I know dealing Kasparas Jonas is difficult, you guys. I know this is a guy that we're looking at as our future point guard. But if you can include him in a package to get a guy that is an all-star caliber player now, it helps this team compete. And it gives Pat Riley what he wants, a win-now team. Now, obviously, There's going to be people that are not going to be happy about that. There's going to be people that doesn't agree with the trade. I know Ja Morant is a head case, but one thing we know about this Miami Heat team, and they've been advertising it in 2024 in cute little t-shirts, but it's this Heat culture. And we've seen players that have been head cases in other teams that have come to this Miami Heat team, bought into the system, and have played amazing, the best basketball of their careers. Two guys that immediately pop up in mind, James Johnson and Dion Waiters. Two guys that were afterthoughts, cast-offs, came to this team, bet on themselves and doubled down, and they succeeded. And you've seen a lot of other players, undrafted level players, that have done that as well. You put Ja Morant on this Miami Heat roster with the culture, with Spo, with Pat Riley, I believe it can work. Now, it could go the other way. You're bringing Ja Morant and his head case father to South Beach, Florida. That may be a problem. But I think Ja Morant can be professional enough to look at his career and think, I was a head case, I was a problem, I'm traded to Miami, now I need to show the world what I can do. And guys, Ja Morant out there with Kel'el Ware and Bam Adebayo as his bigs, that's going to be scary. So Heat Nation, I want to hear from you. Ja Morant to the Miami Heat, do you think it's a good deal? And the fact that we don't have to give up any of our star level players, our all-star level players, to get him, I think this is a good trade idea for both sides. It allows Memphis to rebuild with young assets, expiring contracts, and first-round draft picks. They also get Kasparas Jonas, who they can look as their building block point guard for the future. I think it works for both sides. So let me know what you guys think. Please, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like the video, share on social media, subscribe to the channel because we're pushing close to 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. And until next time, your boy Ernest out, and that is enough said.